when I went back to school, which I didn't want to do, and added a teaching certificate to my earlier training. Because it was clear there was no way to do the local children's show that I had envisioned with children as talent, and so I was going to be a teacher and use storytelling and video as teaching tools. And of course, then about the time I got that done, they were laying off teachers all over the country, and I couldn't get in. Started the TV channel at the Children's Hospital. That became famous. And then the schools came and leaned on me, really begged me to apply for the new cable TV coordinator job, which, I was reluctant to take because I really didn't want to do administration, but it was a way in, so I took it. And I did that for a few years and got things set up and got them the things they wanted, and then said, I want to work in a school. And the first school, it was, I think, the most wonderful principal I ever worked for. She had a art program in another school, and I had told stories for her a number of times, and she asked me to come. She was asked to open up the International Fine Arts School, and she asked me to come and teach storytelling and make international video exchange, teach kids to make video and exchange. And the school soon became the most popular program in the city. And there were people saying, I think it was K through 5, and people saying, well, what are these kids going to do when they get into junior high? And there's nothing like this. And we should, and there was all this thing going on. And there were a few of us that were saying, well, open another school, open another K through 5 school, open a middle school, keep it small. This school had maybe 300 students, and aside from a wonderful principal and program, that was part of it, was the small, but that was an unpopular opinion. And I think there were more people that believed it who were afraid to say that. But so ultimately, they took over an old, unused junior high building, tripled the size of the program, and made it a K through 8 school. And it was just out of control. And plus, they didn't really give this wonderful principal adequate support, help, assistance in that. And it was the first time in my, I started my classes with the middle school students, and I started thinking that I had lost it. I had started telling stories, running camps in the 60s for young people who were in trouble with the courts, junior high. And I just, what I started to find out, the centerpiece of the program was the orchestra and violins and all that. And there was somebody in the office taking the students that the music teachers, the orchestra teachers didn't want, and putting, just kind of loading my classes with that. Larry's good with these kids, like that. But I didn't know that. I just knew that, I was having groups that if you have 1 or 2 students that were that disruptive by nature, it was hard no matter what. And I was just, I was used to doing, especially with that age group, kind of a story circle, telling a story that suggested, that reminds me of a story, and just letting the story stick or stone or whatever go around. When you've got the stick or the object, it's your turn to tell. You don't have to. You can pass it on and come back, and maybe you've got something then, well, with that age group, no matter what the group is like, usually the first time the story stick just whips around the circle and nobody says anything. And then I would do this thing, well, okay, let's do that again, but hold it a little bit, because something might come. And then somebody the second time around would tell a story. And then somebody else would, and you've got something to start to work with. Well, these groups, I mean, one of those days, one of these kids got up and told started to tell a story that was so, I guess the word, I don't know if this is still the word for this, but a story that was so blue, so full of, sexual innuendo, in my opinion, wasn't appropriate anywhere, but certainly, and I just stopped him. I said, that's not appropriate here. The only place I can think of was that'd be okay is in a very adult nightclub, and I question whether that kind of, and we had a little bit of discussion about, respect between, the sexes, men and women, and that, and then, the stick went on, and there were a few kind of weak little, Three Little Pig type stories, and then this young man got up and started telling from the heart. The story about growing up in a cracked neighborhood where, populated by women making their living as prostitutes and this, that, and the other thing. Similar, I mean, not well, it was just talking from the heart. And the point of it was clearly that how hard it was to live in a place like that, and nobody should have to. And I just felt like this is not a story to stop. But I was also thinking, yeah, and then I started getting phone calls from all over the place. But I felt like if I stopped that story, there would be something wrong. He finished the story. And I think the entire class, including the people that had been so disruptive, just, kind of collected that respect and started to applaud for his story. And we finished the day, and I still was worried about phone calls that I'd have to deal with. I never heard a thing. And I believe that the kids, just somehow felt like that was an important story. It wasn't, gratuitous sex or violence or anything like that, and that it was to be respected as told.